We have all been there, right? That magnetic pull to click buy now late at night, that flash of anger that fuels a text you can never unsend, or that mindless grab for the second slice of cake you swore you wouldn't touch. We act in a split second and then we spend hours, maybe even days, dealing with the fallout. But what if I told you that split-second decision wasn't a failure of character? What if it was actually your brain working perfectly? That's the huge paradox we're going to unpack and solve right now. Just think about that for a second. The speed, that urgency you feel, it isn't some flaw you need to fix. It's actually a flawless response from your emotional brain. You see, it's a system that's been fine-tuned over millions of years to do one thing really, really well: act instantly to get a reward or to avoid pain. So that feeling of being out of control, ironically, that's a highly optimized system doing exactly what it was designed to do. The problem is that ancient wiring isn't always a great fit for our modern world. So today, we're going to show you why your internal clock is wired this way, and more importantly, how you can seize control of it. So, here's our game plan. First, we're going to explore the painful side of this in a flawless failure. Then, we'll dive into the neuroscience with the two-brain race. After that, we'll look at the psychology of why right now is so powerful in the tyranny of now. Once we really get the problem, we'll get super practical in how to build brakes. And finally, we'll redefine what self-control actually is in mastering your internal clock. Okay, let's start with the feeling. Before we get into any of the science, let's just be real about the painful consequences of being stuck in this action-regret cycle. Because this isn't just some abstract idea. For so many of us, it's a daily grind that quietly shapes our lives in ways we don't always want to admit. And just look at how these things are all connected. They aren't separate problems, it's a domino effect. The financial instability from all those buy now clicks, that creates a ton of stress. That stress then gives you a shorter fuse, which leads to relational chaos when you snap at your partner over something tiny. That snap judgment, fueled by anger, leads to this heavy, chronic feeling of regret. And that regret, well, it chips away at your self-trust, which makes it nearly impossible to hit your long-term goals. It's a vicious feedback loop. And all of these are symptoms of one single underlying truth. A choice based on feeling is just structurally faster than a choice based on logic. The fallout from that speed mismatch can really define our lives. So what is actually going on inside your head? Well, to get it, you have to picture that there are two decision-making systems in your brain, and they're locked in a race against each other. But here's the thing. The race is totally rigged. Imagine a world-class sprinter lining up against a world-class marathon runner, but the race is only 100 meters long. Who's going to win every single time? The sprinter. It's not even a fair fight. And this chart just lays out the mismatch perfectly. On one side, you've got the limbic system, your emotional brain. That's the sprinter. Look at its speed. It works in milliseconds. Its only goal is now, immediate reward, immediate safety. It's automatic, it's low energy, and it runs on powerful stuff like dopamine and adrenaline. Then you've got the other side, your prefrontal cortex, or PFC, the marathon runner. It's slow, taking seconds or even minutes to get going. Its job is the heavy lifting, analyzing long-term consequences. And this is key, it's a high-energy system that guzzles glucose. It's the voice of reason, but by the time it even gets its running shoes tied, the sprinter has already crossed the finish line. And this right here is the critical design flaw in our wiring. It's called the PFC bypass. This is the whole ballgame. It's not that your rational brain is weak, it's that it often doesn't even get a chance to play. Your emotional brain has a direct, high-speed highway to the action centers of your brain. It completely bypasses the slow, scenic, analytical route through your prefrontal cortex. The impulse to act is triggered and done before your conscious mind can even start a pros and cons list. This isn't a willpower problem, it's a timing problem. This timeline makes it so clear. Just look at these numbers. At 0 milliseconds, you see the thing. The tempting ad, the annoying email. Within just 10 to 50 milliseconds, your limbic system fires. Bam, dopamine floods your brain, creating that powerful urge to act. By 100 milliseconds, that's a tenth of 1 second, you've clicked the button. The action is over. Now, look at the last line. It takes over 500 milliseconds, half a second or more, for your rational brain, the PFC, to finally catch up and sound the alarm. But it's way too late. That sinking feeling in your gut, that's the sound of your logical brain arriving at a party that ended a long time ago. So, okay, we get the what. The PFC bypass is a timing problem. But why is it so ridiculously powerful? Why is our brain so biased towards speed, even when it leads to bad outcomes? Well, the answer is all about the tyranny of the present moment. The main culprit here is a cognitive bias called delay discounting. And it's a really simple but powerful idea. Our brains are just wired to see a reward we can have right now as being way more valuable than a bigger, better reward we have to wait for. The promise of something great in the future just can't compete with the neurological fireworks of getting something good immediately. This isn't a character flaw, it's just how the human brain's internal calculator works. A bird in the hand feels like it's worth 100 in the bush, not because of logic, but because of neurology.
And this chart shows you exactly what your brain is seeing. Look at that big bar on the left. That's the small reward you can have now, the thrill of the purchase, the satisfaction of sending that angry text. To your brain, its value is huge. Now look at the tiny little bar on the right. That's the large reward you have to wait for, like a healthy bank account in 5 years. Logically, we know it's worth more, but because it's way off in the future, your brain discounts its value down to almost nothing. So when your brain looks at this choice, it just goes for the biggest bar on the chart. It's not being irrational, it's just following its own very biased math.
And there's one last thing that really stacks the deck against us: ego depletion. Remember how we said the PFC, our marathon runner, is a high-energy system? Well, think of your self-control like a muscle. All day long, as you make decisions, resist little temptations, and deal with stress, you're literally burning through your PFC's fuel. By the end of a long day, it's just running on fumes. That's ego depletion. And when your PFC is exhausted, its ability to say no is pretty much gone. This is exactly why it's so much harder to stick to your diet or avoid an argument late at night. Your brain's sprinter is always ready to go, but your marathon runner is tired, which basically gives your emotional brain free rein. Okay, so that's the problem. And I know it's a structural, neurological, and psychological trap that can feel pretty overwhelming. But it is absolutely not hopeless. The second you understand how the trap works, you can start to engineer your way out of it. We are now officially shifting from theory to action. We're going to learn how to build a set of brakes for your high-speed emotional brain. So here's the bottom line. You can't outrun your emotional brain. You will never beat the sprinter in a sprint. Willpower alone isn't going to cut it, because by the time you try to use it, the race is over. So if you can't win by being faster, how do you win? You change the rules of the race.
And here it is, the single most powerful strategy you have. The solution is to intentionally, mechanically insert a time delay between the impulse and the action. That's it. That little pause is everything. It's the one thing that neutralizes the only real advantage your emotional brain has, its speed. By forcing a waiting period, you give your slow, rational marathon runner the time it needs to finally get to the starting line, analyze the situation, and hit the brakes.
Here are 2 super powerful, non-negotiable rules you can start using today. First, for money, the 24-hour cooling off rule. Pick a number, say $50. Any non-essential purchase over that amount goes into a shopping cart, and you are forbidden from buying it for 24 hours. No exceptions. Second, for emotions, the mandatory 10-minute pause. The second you feel that hot surge of anger, you have a simple rule. If I feel this, then I must leave the room for 10 minutes before I respond. You're not trying to kill the feeling, you're just unhooking it from an immediate destructive action. The other big strategy is to increase something called initiation friction. Your emotional brain loves things that are easy and automatic, so you fight back by making impulsive things harder to do. You basically engineer your environment to slow yourself down. If you impulse shop online, literally freeze your credit card in a block of ice. I am dead serious. The time it takes to thaw it out is often all your rational brain needs to talk you out of it. Delete the one-click shopping apps. If you send angry texts, make a rule to put your phone in another room during heated conversations. Every extra step is another chance for your marathon runner to catch up. So, let's bring all this home. In our final section, let's look at what this new way of thinking about self-control really means. We've gone from the pain of regret, to the brain race, to the tools you can use. Now, let's just zoom out and see the huge shift in perspective this offers us. I really want this to sink in because it's the most important thing to take away from all of this. Your struggle is not a moral failing. You're not weak. You're a human with a brain that evolved for a totally different world. A world where acting fast meant survival. You're simply battling a mechanical property of your own brain. Your feelings are just faster than your thoughts. Realizing this can lift such a huge weight of shame and self-blame and replace it with a clear strategic plan. So what is self-mastery really? It's not about gritting your teeth and having more willpower. It's about being a better architect of your environment and a smarter engineer of your own choices. It's the art of taking that time delay, that tiny fraction of a second where your rational brain gets bypassed, the very source of the problem, and turning it into your greatest strength. By building in pauses and friction, you give your best self, your rational, long-term thinking self, a fighting chance to actually show up. And so this is the final thought I want to leave you with. The speed of your action is the measure of your eventual regret. The faster the decision, the more likely it came from that ancient emotional part of your brain, and the more likely you'll wish you could take it back. So the most powerful thing you can do to change your life is to learn how to do one simple, incredibly difficult thing: slow down. Give your marathon runner time to run the race.